Hey everybody, welcome back to Jay's Fit Down Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jane Gay. Today on the podcast, we're going to be previewing the NFL Draft, the 2022 NFL Draft, which begins tomorrow, Thursday, April 28th, and ends on Saturday, April 30th. So you guys can catch the draft on ABC, ESPN, NFL Network, also the ESPN app and ESPN Radio for my Atlanta viewers. You can catch that game if you're driving home from work or whatever the case may be. You can catch it on 929 The Game Sports Radio. Before we get started, guys, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share. Y'all know the drill. Just keep sharing this around, man. We are here to provide you the best football content, NFL, college, and high school. We will continue to do that and draft coverage as well. So we finally made it to the draft. We're getting closer and closer to the 2022 NFL season. Feels like just yesterday. The season just ended with the Rams beating the Bengals in Super Bowl 56. Now we're about to start. We're making our way into the 2022 NFL season. A lot of moving pieces, as we've already talked about on previous podcasts before. Russell Wilson going to the Broncos and Devontae Adams going to the Raiders and Matt Ryan going to the Colts. Thank God. So a lot of moves in this offseason. A lot of crazy moves, which probably affected a lot of teams' draft positions and draft needs. So that's something to think about, as you're watching the draft tomorrow night and Friday and Saturday, just thinking about that, all the moves that have been made this past offseason and continue to be made, how that affects these different teams as they look to draft the players of the future for their franchises. So I did make a mock draft just for my top 12 picks for the top 12 picks in the draft. I didn't do all 32 because it's just too crazy. There's no telling how a lot of teams are talking about trading up and all this kind of stuff. So, but here's my mock draft though. I do have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are picking number one for the I believe it's the second or third consecutive season. So the Jags are really trying to turn the ship around down there in Florida. And I have them picking Trevon Walker. He's a defensive lineman out of Georgia at the number one pick. Now, Trevon Walker is a very special player. He obviously was huge in helping helping Georgia beat Alabama in the national championship game. Had a very productive career at Georgia. Now he's, poised to be the number one pick. The number one pick has been a spot that has kind of fluctuated the last couple of weeks, last month or so. First, we had Aiden Hutchinson. A lot of people had him being the number one pick for this draft, and a lot of people had Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon also being a number one pick, but his draft stock has went down also. So it's just the number one pick is a spot that has been moving up and down recently. So right now, a lot of people, including myself, have Trevon Walker going number one to the Jaguars because he's what the Jaguars need. The Jaguars need that solid star pass rusher to complement, Josh Allen on the other side. Especially, he'll fit that scheme that what they were trying to do there. So, Doug Peterson will want to use him, to wreak havoc in the backfield of opposing quarterbacks, because the Jacksonville Jaguars have been very terrible when it comes to rushing the passer. This is something that they desperately need, and so I have them going after Trevon Walker out of Georgia. Sitting at number 2 in the draft, we got the Detroit Lions, who will be picking in the top 5 again for maybe the third, fourth, or fifth consecutive year. But I have them taking Aiden Hutchinson, defensive lineman out of Michigan, edge player. Hutchinson had a great career at Michigan. He is a very fast off the line of scrimmage, guy who can rush the passer very effectively and efficiently. A guy that I think will fit with the Lions, as they look to bolster up that defense. They got a lot of good young pieces on that defense. They got Jeff Okudah out there at cornerback. You also got Amani Oruwariye also at the other cornerback spot. So, the Lions are trying to build that defense up with these young pieces now, moving away towards from the veteran route. They're trying to build that defense up with young stars and athletes. I think Dan Campbell is really going to enjoy having Hutchinson there. You know, he's a guy. Dan Campbell likes to rush the passer. You know, he used to be with the Saints, coaching there, and he's the head coach now in Detroit. You know, he's a guy that likes to get after you and get after you in the backfield. Likes to send his guys down there to get the quarterback. And I think Hutchinson is a good player for that. You know, and I think the Lions are going to take him at number 2 overall. Now, something to keep in mind. You know, the Lions could also go receiver here, or, you know, offensive lineman, you know, earlier in the draft. So it's something to keep an eye on. But, you know, I think most of us believe that they're going to take one of these top-rated defensive players at the number 2 overall pick. Yeah, so that's just something to think about. Coming in number 3, I have the Houston Texans taking cornerback Ahmad Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. Gardner he never allowed a touchdown in his whole college career. And I know, you know, and it's hard for what people don't understand about the draft and working in the NFL environment is that being a general manager, it's hard to pick these players because, you know, it's understanding that, college, you know, they were really good in college, you know, but you also have to consider where they were playing and who the teams they were playing against. Now, it's great that Ahmad Gardner did not give up a single touchdown in his whole career. You know, that's an amazing stat. That is very remarkable. However, we have to also take into consideration that talent that he was going up against at Cincinnati. Usually he's playing guys like Tulane and, you know, these schools like that. So the question is for him, how will he fare in the NFL? You know, against these top receivers, you know, like Jalen Waddle, these shifty guys, Justin Jefferson, you know, DeAndre Hopkins, Cooper Kupp, you know, all these guys. So it's just a matter of how will Tyreek Hill, to name as well, you know, just how will he fare against these top-rated receivers? You know, Jamar Chase also, you know, so the NFL is growing in the receiver route, and we're going to get there in a second. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that I believe that Sauce Gardner will be going to Cincinnati at that number 3 pick. Sauce Gardner will be going to the Texans from Cincinnati at that number 3 pick. Now with the Jets at number 4, I believe they're going to take Kayvon Thibodeaux out of Oregon, the edge guy, and, you know, very explosive off the line of scrimmage. You know, he likes to get his hands in the dirt and likes to rush after the passer, you know, as well against the run also. You know, watching his film, I believe he's a guy that's going to fit what the Jets are trying to do defensively there with Robert Saleh. He's the head coach right now. You know, he used to be a defensive coordinator for San Francisco, so he's going to implement his own style of defense in New York, trying to solidify that defense, especially the defensive line. Just want to add that star pass rusher because, look, in the NFL, if you don't have a pass rush, you're not going to win football games. You can't win. That's like, you know, saying if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win. You can't win without a quarterback. You cannot win without an offensive line, and you cannot win without a defense. You can't win without a pass rush. You really cannot win without a pass rush. You know, you saw this with the Falcons, you know, the Jaguars, all these teams that are lacking in the pass rush department. They can't. The defense is just going to stay on the field because these quarterbacks are just picking them apart. You know, because there's no pressure in the quarterback's face because the defense can't get home. You know, so that's an issue that a lot of teams need to address, including the New York Jets. And I believe that they take Kayvon Thibodeaux right here out of Oregon to help bolster that pass rush. Now, coming in at the number 5 pick, I believe the Giants are going to be taking Evan Neal out of Alabama, offensive lineman. You know, great against the pass. He can hold his own in the pass blocking. Great run blocker. Also, you know, Alabama like to run that outside zone a lot there, inside as well, with Nick Saban in Alabama. So I believe, you know, that Evan Neal will fit very well with the New York Giants because the Giants' offensive line has been horrendous for a while now. You know, it's been horrible. You know, so this is something that they've got to address in this draft. That's no question. That's automatic. The New York Giants have to address the offensive line, you know, because it has been abysmal. You know, for all the past since Eli Manning was there, since he retired, his last couple of years, the offensive line has just not been good. You know, and Daniel Jones. You know, everybody has their opinion on Daniel Jones as a quarterback. You know, and this and that and. You know, but you put any quarterback behind that Giants offensive line, they're gonna be going down a lot. They're gonna have grass stains on their pads and on their uniforms a lot because they can't hold up in pass protection. You know, they can't run block either. You know, so I think that the Giants will be taking Evan Neal here out of Alabama. Great size, great motor, can move quick with his feet. Good start off the line of scrimmage. He's a guy that I really believe the Giants want to take here at number 5. Now, as we move on to the 6th pick, we're moving into the quarterback range. This is where I believe the first quarterback off the board is going to be taken, and that's going to be Malik Willis, the QB out of Liberty. I believe he's going to go to the Panthers here at number 6, just because the Panthers are kind of in a little bit of a sticky situation here. Sam Darnold, they traded for him last offseason. He was supposed to be their starting quarterback. That didn't really work out so well. They started the year off 3-0, and then they just completely fell off after that. So it's seeming most likely that Malik Willis is a guy that I would see going to the Carolina Panthers at the number 6 pick. And the Panthers have already made it known that they will be drafting a quarterback. They already told Sam Darnold, according to reports by NFL Network, that they will be drafting a quarterback in the first round. And Sam said he's fine with that. So it will be interesting to see who wins that spot when it comes to training camp and then going into the regular season, which will be in a couple months. So we're almost there, guys. Now number 7 pick, I have the Giants also will be picking here. I believe that they will be taking Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU, the cornerback. He's a great cornerback. He's great ball skills, quick feet. He's got great instincts, just all around good corner. This is a guy that went up against Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson when they were at LSU at practice. He went up against those guys at practice, team offense versus team defense, those faster period reps, just getting after it in practice. He's been going up against guys like that, right? I believe that Derek Stingley is a guy, because especially with the New York Giants looking at, they don't know what's going to happen with James Bradberry. It's been reported that they might trade him or cut him. You need a starting cornerback, like I mentioned earlier. Defense is very important. As we saw with the Rams winning the Super Bowl, defense wins championships. It's a cliche, but defense wins championships, and you can't win without a defense. And that especially goes for the pass rushing, so for the defensive line and for the secondary. And if you add Derek Stingley to any secondary, he's going to make them better automatically just because he's that good. He's very good corner, very good player. He's physical. He'll come up and make the tackle, which a lot of corners don't do, which is what any coach wants in their cornerbacks to do, any of their secondary players to do, come up and make the tackle. That's a lost art that's kind of been fading away from football. You used to have guys like, used to have guys in the secondary, Ed Reed, all those guys come up and make the play, come make the tackle, come light somebody up, and now the corners, they seem like they're scared to tackle now. They don't like to tackle. They like just cover guys, right? So they're the few cornerbacks that do like to come up and make the hit, which can be very huge. It's third and 10. Offense drops back and passes. They get an 8-yard completion. And you need your corner to come back and to come up there and make the stop right there before they get to the marker for the first down, versus a guy who's going to come up there and whiff or not try to tackle and they get the first down, which would make a huge difference in a game scenario. So that's just something to think about with cornerbacks and, with the draft. But I believe, so moving on to the number 8 pick, you have the Atlanta Falcons who will be picking. I don't know what we're going to do. They moved on from Matt Ryan. They signed Marcus Mariota to be the starting quarterback here for a 2-year deal, like $18 million deal, 2-year $18 million deal to come here to Atlanta. It's really, in my mock draft, I had the Falcons taking Garrett Wilson. He's a wide receiver from Ohio State University. Great explosiveness, can catch anything you throw at him. Great hands, great speed, gets down the field in a hurry. Very good on those post routes. Also can just fly down the field, off those go routes as well. So he's a guy that, off the play action, which is what Arthur Smith loves to do when he's got his running game established. You want to hit him for that play action post down the middle of the field, that Garrett Wilson's your guy. So I believe that Garrett Wilson is a guy that the Falcons will consider picking here. In my mock draft, I do have the Falcons picking him at the number 8 pick from Ohio State University. Now, a lot of people have mentioned, the fact because the Falcons have gone edge rusher. If one of those guys falls, like Thibodeau, if he falls to number 8, the Falcons take him. Of course, maybe, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen here. The Falcons also could take a quarterback. But it's personally, I believe what the Falcons need to do is wait until 2023 to get a quarterback because the prospects will be much better. This quarterback draft class is not very strong. It's fairly weak. So from my personal judgment, it is in the Falcons' best interest. If they want to win and get their franchise guy, they're gonna have to wait until 2023. You sign Marcus Mariota to an $18 million deal. Let him start the games. Let him start the year. Whatever you guys finish at, you finish at. The Falcons probably won't win more than 3 games. But then you pick high in the 2023 draft, get a guy like Bryce Young out of Alabama, or you get a guy like C.J. Stroud from Ohio State. So those are going to be some good quarterback prospects in the 2023 draft. So that's why I have the Falcons picking Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Coming in at number 9 in the draft, you have the Seattle Seahawks. I believe we're going to be trading with Denver to get this pick. So I believe they're going to trade up here and get Jermaine Johnson, the edge guy out of FSU, edge player out of FSU. He's great pass rushing skills, likes to get after you. Great speed off the line of scrimmage, got a good jab. Likes to do that jab punch to the offensive lineman once he gets off the line of scrimmage and get back to the quarterback. He's a guy that I believe a lot of people are sleeping on in this draft. So don't be surprised if he goes here right to Seattle. The Seahawks their defense has been their Achilles heel the past couple of seasons, and Pete Carroll really needs that star pass rusher to complement that defense as they're trying to get better, get more pieces in there. So I have Jermaine Johnson from FSU going to the Seattle Seahawks at number 9. Coming in at number 10, guys, I have the Drake London from USC, wide receiver, going to the New York Jets. Jets also a receiver needy team. The Jets are in a situation right now where they just need to stack up on these picks and just continue to develop and build their roster because they're obviously not contending for anything. So now you just add a guy like Drake London, who is a true number 1 receiver, add him to a core with Braxton Berrios and Corey Davis. That's a solid receiving core for the Jets. So I believe that they're going to take Drake London here from USC at number 10. And at the 11th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, I have Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame, going to the Washington Commanders. We're the Washington football team now that the Commanders. Look, they changed their name like 20 times already. I just don't know. At this point, just call them Washington. Call them the Washingtons. I don't know, like George Washington or whatever. So Kyle Hamilton, a great player, man. He's very explosive. He's very smart, great instincts as a secondary player in the safety. Got really the guy that you want leading your defense back there. Great ball hawking skills as well. Can get the go up and get the ball. He sees it, he goes up there and gets it. He come up great in run support also. So he's a guy that the Washington Commanders should take a look at here. They're a team that is also, their defense has been so-so the past couple of years, and they just really need their secondary is really, the defensive line I think is great. Obviously they picked up Chase Young last year, or the year before last, and they picked up Chase Young in the draft. And he really helped that defensive line, along with Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, all those guys, Jonathan Allen. So adding a secondary player like Kyle Hamilton will really help bolster that defense. So something to keep an eye out for in Washington. And lastly, on my mock draft list, because I told you guys I was only doing the top 12 picks, I have the Eagles trading up for Jameson Williams out of Alabama, trading up with the Minnesota Vikings to get Jameson Williams out of Alabama, wide receiver. Jameson Williams is coming off an injury he sustained in the national championship game against Georgia back in January. He's making good progress. He's been running. He's getting up there in his rehab. I believe by at some point in the 2022 season, he'll be ready to go. So this is a pick that is most certain I believe will happen. The Eagles truly lack a receiver right now. They haven't had a number 1 receiver in some time now, and again, like I said, you need number 1 receivers in this league to win. This is a guy, I believe this is a team that I really see Jameson Williams going to. You know, I mean, he's got great speed. He's got good hands. You know, he will take the distance, and he's you know, his route running is also good, which he'll learn to improve that as well. You know, he's a good route runner, but he could be better. But obviously, he'll improve that once he gets to the league. So this is obviously a a team that I believe Jameson Williams will thrive with in the NFL. So that, guys, wraps it up for my mock draft for the 2022 NFL draft. Like I said, overall, this draft is heavy defensive. It's defensive heavy. You know, defensive heavy. You know, wide receiver heavy, offensive line heavy. You know, defensive line heavy. Right. The quarterback class is just not good this year. You know, it's not that good. I mean, you have guys like Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett. You know, great quarterbacks, great players. You know, we'll see how they translate to the NFL, but they just don't. It's just not popping out like it has in recent years. This quarterback class. So that's just something to keep an eye out for as you're watching the draft the next couple of days. Like I said, you guys can catch that on ESPN, ABC, NFL Network, ESPN Radio, and the ESPN app. You can also listen to it for my Atlanta listeners, Atlanta viewers at 929 The Game. They'll also be covering the draft, full draft coverage as well on 929 The Game Sports Radio Atlanta. You guys make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share. You know, again, make sure you watch the draft. It's, the next couple of days starts tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific time. If you're out west, again, NFL Network, ESPN will have the main coverage of the draft. And your first pick will be the Jacksonville Jaguars tomorrow night. So that wraps it up for our pre-draft podcast. Thank you guys for watching and listening. You can catch us later. Be doing a recap episode after the draft is over, so be on the lookout for that. Enjoy your summer. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.